Good afternoon and welcome to this agenda review meeting of the Nacogdoches Independent School District Board of Trustees. Let the record show that a quorum of the board is present and that notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meeting Act. Secretary Mindy Winslow was unable to attend the meeting today. I'd like to remind everyone that all items on the agenda today are just for discussion only. No action will be taken at this meeting. If you would, please join us with turning your phones to a silent mode. We did not receive any requests to address the board as outlined in the meeting notice. We'll first discuss the items from the consent agenda. At this time, we'll start with Ms. Barbarick with the business office reports.
Good afternoon, President Urban, board members, Dr. Trujillo. So we have several budget amendments this month. And these are, although these are large amendments and there's many, it's what we do annually because we're rolling between 2 years. But I'll go through each one. Can you hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So budget amendment A, we're pulling funds from fund balance to pay for equipment ordered in prior year but received in current year, and this is for student nutrition. If you remember, she had a large fund balance and was required to bring it down. She ordered equipment, but it just didn't come in yet. So Item B, pull funds from fund balance to purchase vehicles from prior year. A bid was submitted, but no responses were received, so we're going to try again. So these funds were not used in prior year, we're pulling them back out.
Okay.
Item C, pull funds from fund balance to pay for the bus ordered in prior year, not yet received. This is not an additional bus, but the bus that was put in for last year. Item D, pull funds from fund balance to pay for the NIU toilets ordered in prior year, not yet received. They're taking a while because they're being built, but they're currently being built. Item E, pull funds from fund balance to pay for generators ordered for transportation in prior year. Again, not yet finished, not completed, but we're pulling it from fund balance. F, pull funds from fund balance that were budgeted in prior year with ESSER savings for generators. These are portable generators, $50,000. Item G, pull funds from fund balance for construction projects started but not finished by the end of the year. These are several, I just grouped them all, but they're several projects. Item H, pull funds from fund balance for wish list items granted in 1920 fiscal year. They were put on pause during heavy bond construction season, and they include TJR intercom upgrades, gym seat replacements, replacement blinds at various campuses. Item I, pull funds from fund balance for theater curtains not yet received from prior year.
60,000.
And I think there's been an error because we had other budget amendments, but I'm not seeing them. And it was for the donations. Would you like me to hunt them down and present them later, or bring them to you on Thursday, or what would you like me to do for that?
Send them Thursday.
Yep. We can.
Okay, all right, thank you. Any questions on the budget amendments presented?
Just a question, item D, did they give us any date that they can deliver those toilets?
I believe he said they were 4 to 6 weeks out.
4 to 6.
I have a question.
Okay.
On the theater curtain, is that, I thought that was coming from that grant for fine arts, but this come out of general budget?
No, it actually came from our ESSER savings.
Okay, so it's coming from fund balance, but it's actually an ESSER purchase.
Yes.
Okay, that's good enough. That's a great job. We certainly need to replace it.
All right, next, is our donations. All right. So on page 26, we have several donations. Most items are non-cash donations. For reggae, items were received from Walmart, several items. We received $1,000 for convocation from Cadence Bank, which is Bancorp South. They changed their name. They also received several items for door prizes from various entities there. And then Margie Chumley received school supplies from the Greater East Texas Community Action Program. The next item on our list is investments.
Ms. Barber, could I just say a big thank you to these community shareholders to invest in our district and in our campuses. Thank you.
Next is our investment report, which you can find on page 28. As you can see, our interest earnings are continuing to rise and making more revenue there. Also, to note that I stepped away from our certificates of deposits for a while because the earnings were so low, but they are trending higher, so I may be looking into them some more and making more money from them, but that's to come. And then if you have any questions on any other reports, I'll take them now.
Okay, thank you. Now we'll have purchases of $25,000. Mr. Michael Martin.
Good afternoon, President Irvin, members of the board, Dr. Trujillo. What you have before you on page 64 of your board book is an invoice from the Boys and Girls Club for our athletic swim teams to practice and hold their meets at the Boys and Girls Club pool and for the amount of $37,000 per year. This is up $2,000 from last year. Be happy to answer any question the board may have.
I guess that extra 2,000 is due to the having water polo.
Not certain of that, Coach. Probably just inflation. Could be just inflation.
Still is good.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Still good.
We now have two teams working out there, that we have the water polo and the swim team, right?
Yes, sir.
So that's not much of a rise for getting the two sports there. That's really wonderful. And we've won, the men and the women have won at least one game. I saw that on the Facebook or somewhere. I thought, wow, that's pretty good.
It's good.
Thank you. Ms. Barber, we'll now talk about the adoption of the tax rate.
Yes. Tell me what page that's on.
6.
page 66. So the tax rate we're adopting this year is for maintenance and operations, 0.9507, which is a decrease from prior year. And for principal, for debt service, we are increasing from 24.5 cents to 29 cents. Our total tax rate will be 1.2407, which is actually a slight decrease from prior year. We have no control over our maintenance and operations rate. That is determined by TEA. And several years ago, they passed legislation where they were continuing to drop. That's why you're seeing every year it's dropped some for taxpayer relief. Any questions on the tax rate?
Thank you, Ms. Barbara. Mr. Martin and Mr. Tarvin, submission of professional development waivers to TEA for this school year.
Mr. President, if it pleases the chair, I'd like to yield the floor to Mr. Marty Tarvin.
Good afternoon, President Irvin, board members, Superintendent Trujillo. I want to bring to you a professional development waiver for this school year. If you remember last year, we brought to you a district calendar, instructional calendar. In that instructional calendar were 4 professional development days spread throughout the year. This will allow us to, if you all remember, we have to have so many hours or so many minutes of instruction each year for our students. This waiver will allow us to take up to 2,100 minutes and put that towards professional development for our staff. Okay? And so we have set aside 4 days in that calendar for that, and this waiver will take care of that.
Good. Any questions? Element for the staff.
It's almost going to be 8 hours a day, correct?
I beg your pardon?
Almost 8 hours a day.
Yeah, what, when I spoke to Peems, really what it turns out to be is 360 minutes per day.
Right.
Because of lunches and things of that nature.
Thank you. So, all right, consideration of submission of class size waivers. Mr. Martin and Mr. Tarvin.
Mr. Tarvin, please.
Mr. Tarvin.
Thank you very much. As you all know, the state has set a class size limit for our kindergarten through 4th grade at 22 to 1. Well, we have a number of classrooms that are over that at this point. Okay, so we need to apply for a class size waiver for 9 different classrooms. We have 3 kindergarten classrooms that are sitting at 23 or 24 students per teacher in there. At Mike Moses, we also have 1 bilingual 2nd grade classroom that's sitting at 23 to 1. We have, in the 3rd grade at Mike Moses, we have 2 classes that are sitting quite large. We have 1 at 25 and 1 at 26. And then in the 4th grade, we have a classroom that's sitting at 24 to 1 at this point. If you take a look at BQJ, in the 3rd grade, we have 2 classrooms that are sitting at 23 and 24 to 1. And so at this point, we need to do a class size waiver for those classrooms.
I have a question.
Sure.
We do this every year. I mean,
Yes, ma'am.
it never comes out, and it's not a big deal. It's like the state expects us to put in for a waiver. Right?
Yes, ma'am.
So, but I just had this question. It's really for Dr. Trujillo. But I want to make this statement first. For people who are just looking at this, they might go, well, why can't you level out classes so that, they're not? And there's a lot more involved than just numbers when it comes to, assigning teachers and everything. But my question is, the way we level out classes, is it ever allowed for us to level out campuses? I mean, we've had redistricting, and I was just wondering if that's something we could look at too, because this is not much over, and so we're thinking it's not really a big deal, but we all know that the better percentage of teacher to students, better learning goes on. So if we could do that. And with that question of whether we could ever kind of manipulate campuses a little bit, what is it that would cause us to decline a request for a transfer?
Well, to your first point, literally the numbers that we have right now, thank goodness we did a lot of our attendance boundary adjustments last year, because these numbers are not, they're not glaring when you look at them. Now, to the teacher that's in that classroom, one student above the required is enough to bring the house of cards down. So I don't want to diminish that with the teachers, because we appreciate the work that they're doing for every one of our kiddos. To the point of why we're submitting, like you alluded to it, Mrs. Apt, that this is communicating to the state, making sure that they know that we know that our classrooms are not within the 22-to-1 ratio. So it's typical to see those being submitted. So luckily for us, when we leveled our sections, we are able to balance our classes to the best of our ability. Programming-wise, that's where we can look at evaluating, is this campus the best location for this service? And we did that with a couple of programs that we have. Typically, what we don't want to get in the business of is moving kids. It's easier to move the adult. And then we accommodate the dynamics that we have. Please know that with these vacancies, or excuse me, with this need, the classrooms that Mr. Tarvin and the team have been able to look at, these are actual teacher vacancies that are on that campus to date. So, for instance, if you'll see the numbers that we're looking at Mike Moses, we have at least three general ed vacancies, as well as bilingual vacancies, that continue to be posted, and we're continuing to look for adequate candidates to come in and fill those vacancies. However, we're not unique to this. This is across the state with a number of shortages. I am working with Mr. Martin and Dr. Hill and the team and Mr. Harold, looking at opportunities of what we can do to fill that void by taking teachers that, or excuse me, future teachers that may be paraprofessionals that want to get the endorsements. We also have Dr. Corley, and just in a recent meeting today when we were having this conversation, was we even have folks that are volunteers, retired individuals that had shown an interest to come back in. Those are the mechanisms that we're looking for that might reduce the classrooms. The concern that we have is when we start shifting teachers around, that there's a need on that campus. There's a, for instance, if we have the numbers are real close over at Nettie, and we need those classrooms, we can double those classrooms up and make them less than a 22-to-1. And then we take that teaching unit and put it over at Mike Moses. However, what happens to Nettie whenever the numbers do come up? Now we're talking about bringing the individual back. So thank goodness with the foresight of this board, we are able to look at attendance boundaries, and we adjusted it so that it would help the programming. We also looked at programming, for instance, the two-way program of where we're going to house it, centrally located, which would help with that. So we will always look at evaluating where we are servicing the programs. I know we have Dr. Young in here, but with special education, the same thing with what are we providing throughout the campuses that we have, and what's the best optimal location, not just for students, but also how do we get them to that school. transportation-wise, could be very restrictive as far as providing the services for our students. So the short of it, yes, we are always looking at balancing that, but I want to make sure that our teachers and our folks that are out there, we don't take this lightly. If it's 23 kids in the classroom, and those of us that have been in a classroom know that all it takes is one little darling in the classroom, and it feels like you got 30 kids in the room. And so we are going to provide the best that we can for all of our kids, and but at the same time, we're seeking out where can we find the teachers to come in here and take that load. We're looking at retirees, we're looking at people who have volunteer tutoring, we're looking at alternative certifications, whether paraprofessionals or even professionals that have a bachelor's degree and want to come back into a classroom environment. We're gonna try to set it up. But at the same time, we're going to be very cautious. Just because you want to be in a classroom doesn't mean that you are going to meet the needs that Nacogdoches ISD wants. So we're not just going to find a living, breathing individual and put them in the hands of our most precious children. We want to make sure that we've got quality people that come in that are growing to become long time commitments to our kids in the learning environment. So,
Thank you, Dr. Trio.
You're welcome.
I knew you'd have an answer.
Yes.
And I wanted everyone else to hear it.
Yes, yes.
To be confident that you're on top of it and
Yes, yes.
be relieved that we're doing everything we can.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Any other questions?
I just have one, learning to read the paperwork. On the Mike Moses line, where it has 7 for pre-K 4, is that one classroom that has 7 above? Because it has.
Are you on the Mike Moses?
Oh, on the front, it's
I'm not,
class sections.
I'm not seeing a pre-K at Mike Moses.
Look at the other.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
See, I'll learn to look at the papers.
Yeah.
Nope, that is not it. I'll just learn how to read. Oh, there it is.
Yeah, there, that'll help.
Okay.
Are you clear with that, Ms. Pickup?
I'm good.
You're good,
I'll
okay.
figure it out, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Arvin. We have now the second reading of the TASB Policy Update 119 by Mr. Michael Morton.
Mr. President, thank you. Again, this is the second reading of Update 119 from Texas Association of School Boards. Just to refresh the board's memory, you approved the first reading back in August, and there have been no changes since that approval.
Any questions or concerns? Thank you, Mr. Morton.
Yes, sir.
Consideration of campus improvement plans, Dr. Hill.
Thank you, President Irvin, Board Member, Superintendent Trujillo. This is an annual approval process. We brought the district improvement plan to you all last month, and today we are looking at our campus improvement plans. You'll notice that the majority of them, with the exception of 2, have the exact same goals as the district, the first 4, and then TJR has added 3 additional goals, as well as Regay has added 1 additional goal. So we'll entertain any questions you may have.
I like it that it aligns with our overall goals as a district.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I just wanted to, since it's going to go on consent agenda, I thought to say we have some very creative people, and we have high standards. At TJR, the core belief, we believe in a growth mindset of progress, not perfection. That meant something to me. Mission statement for Margie Chumley Academy of Success. This campus will provide a non-traditional academic program for focus in preparing all learners for transition into post-secondary life. Therefore, our vision is rooted in academic rigor, character education, career exploration, and workplace readiness, like that. NHS value statement. Our faculty and administration always puts the needs of the students first, and every decision we make is based on what is best for kids. I really, really think those are strong things, and every school, they're not copying one another. They all have their team, they all come up with their goals, and their unit of teachers and everybody, it's just, it gives me goosebumps. I've got them right now. It's really exciting.
That's great.
Thank you, Dr. Rowe. Anyone else? Next, we have consideration of resolution regarding NISD Regional Day School Program for the Deaf Shared Service Arrangement Agreement. Dr. Hill.
Perfect. So this begins on page 648 is the action sheet, and then 649, you'll begin to see the actual resolution. So what we are doing is we are seeking this, a consent from multiple district representation, as well as the delegation of authority to the superintendent for future action. You'll also note in the resolution, specifically on page 650, you'll notice that it does require the legal services, and the resolution is recommending that of Walsh Gallegos. I always mispronounce that, forgive me. And then on page 651, at the very bottom, you'll specifically see the areas of delegation of authority to the superintendent of schools.
Any questions?
I have a question. Does this mean we're paying a retainer to keep them on, ready for, like lawsuits and any changes that we need to make? Is that what this is about?
There is some of that, yes, sir, and you'll notice in here, I believe, we will pay up to $5,000, and then at that point, it will be the SSA that will put in the remainder of the money. Is that correct, Ms. Hughes? Okay.
Now, so when we're doing this, there's a whole bunch of other districts that are joining together. I had to look up
That is
some of
correct.
them,
There's
like
22.
Langdale, that's
Yes.
like under 200 students, and Excelsior Independent School District, it's in Central, in Center.
Yes, sir.
And I'm going, okay, well, we don't have any liability if their program is deficient, right?
I'm going to refer, if I may I call Ms.
Oh,
Hughes? She's our
absolutely,
director
absolutely.
of the Regional Day School.
Well, she's
program
making
for the
her
deaf.
way up there into the community and to the board. You'll see there's a shortness of folks that are out there that provide services. So in a co-op, when you bring folks together, you provide quality service. We're very blessed and fortunate to have our very own that's able to provide those services for the surrounding communities when it comes to what we have. So I will tell you, that's something that's a blessing to us to have it here. But
So I'm not sure if I'm going to answer your question, but we currently are already in the shared service arrangement. The purpose of this is because we need to revise our service arrangement in order for it to reflect new legislation that occurred in terms of vocabulary changes. And then there's some new components to the TEA's requirements of our procedures. And so we are already their deaf education service program for all of those 22 other districts. Nacogdoches makes our 23rd because they are a fiscal agent. But if they were to be deficient in their services for whatever reason in an outside district and it took place, the way that our shared service arrangement is written is it is the responsibility of the home district of the child, whether they are in their home district or they're coming to us, but they're a center student.
Excellent, thank you.
My question
That's very clear.
also is it $5,000 for an ISD pays, correct?
This is not an annual fee. This is just because we are going to do the revision, and they're calling resolution. We're rewriting the shared service arrangement, and so it's to cover the possible extent of the cost of that. If it were to exceed that amount, then we would distribute that cost difference among the 22 other districts to cover that cost. That has been our practice, and so that's just been continued as a practice, but it would not be something on an annual basis.
Right. I just counted it, like you said, it's 22 schools. I also have a question, follow-up. It says Senate Bill 1376, which is 86th legislature, Texas Education Code 29007 states, school district may enter into the written contract to jointly operate the special education program. My question is just to learn, has been any school wants to be cooperate with us, or did we ever approach any other schools to be a partner with us?
In regard to special education or
Yes.
the regional day school program for the deaf?
Special education in general.
That would not be me.
New hat.
To answer your question, no, sir, we have not had any other school district approach us to provide their special education programs.
And we have not approached anyone else to join them.
No, sir, Nacogdoches ISD is receiving an abundance of students in special education in our programs. I jokingly say we have a vacancy sign that says we're open, but it's a compliment that
Yes.
parents want to bring their children to be served in our district.
And I have a special feeling for the special ed teachers, I'll tell you that. And
So do we.
special kids.
Coach Fushy, just to your question with regards to the services, the school district's not the provider, so Region Service Center, Region 7, we have a co-op. That co-op also actually meets here in Nacogdoches, but it's not associated with Nacogdoches ISD. We choose to run our own program.
Yes.
However, we have a numbering of participating school districts that do travel to Nacogdoches, and they meet at the special education co-op. Now, receiving services through the co-op allows our neighboring school districts to receive special education services, especially in a town that is very small.
Right.
That doesn't have the staffing or the programming. And Service Center, which is out of Kilgore, comes down, and they'll provide that for the surrounding area. So when you do hear some that are coming to Nacogdoches,
Yes.
and then and they're receiving services, you might understand it as they're coming to Nacogdoches and being part of our program, which is not true. They are coming to Nacogdoches, but they're receiving services that are contracted through the Service Center, which is Region 7 out of Kilgore, and they're right on the south side of the loop, is where they're officing at. So you'll see some special education services are provided there. Yes,
And
sir.
if they have to come to Nacogdoches, their own district brings them to Nacogdoches.
Oh, yes, it's completely a relationship with the Region Service Center.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, good question.
Thank you.
Thank you. The federal funded vendors for contractor service for student support. Dr. Hill.
Thank you, President Irvin. This is a requirement of EGR. Anytime we're looking at an aggregate cost of $50,000, this is specifically for contracted services for physical therapy services. So the two individuals on here, one is either a physical therapist, the other one is a physical therapy assistant. So they did follow the appropriate procedures and submit an RFP, and then we had a committee rate them, and you'll see the scoring on page 655.
Okay, any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Consideration of resolution in support of Better Together. Mr. Martin.
Thank you, President Irvin. Board, if I may direct your attention to page 656 in your board book. In July of 2018, the Hogg Foundation for Mental Health awarded the School of Social Work at Stephen F. Austin State University a grant through its Collaborative Approaches to Well-Being in Rural Communities initiative. The award was followed by the development of Better Together, a local collaborative focused on actively engaging residents in the process of developing a common agenda for improving mental health, wellness, and well-being for all who live in Nacogdoches County. Administration, you may also have read last week that the City of Nacogdoches has a similar resolution that they passed joining this coalition. The administration is recommending that the board approve a resolution for the Better Together. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
I was on that committee and have been since the onset of it, and I think it's a good way to spend money for the assistance in this community. There's been a lot of people involved, and it's been a good thing It's brought up some things that needed to be brought up and things that have been dealt with. So I think it's a good way that this community is pulling together, and I certainly would support that.
Thank you. I thought you'd be proud since it's for the social workers.
Yes.
I have a question, because I don't know what this word is. What does it mean to turn a community into a blue zone community?
The Blue Zone it's basically, Aaron Wyndham has been chairing this group for us, representing the school district in this partnership. When you have the when you have the hospitals, both big entities, you have Pilgrim's Pride that jumps into this, you have the city of Nacogdoches, you have Stephen F. Austin. What you do is you have a blanket of organizations that are saying health and well-being is our priority. And when you do that, then what happens is you're able to go out and leverage a lot of those services, whereas if Nacogdoches ISD went out on their own, they would say, we're kind of interested. But all of a sudden, you got a blue zone of folks that are coming together and locking arms and saying, this matters to all of us. Okay. Now that individual comes in and they pay attention a little bit more and giving us the best rates, the best services, and the best opportunities for our employees. And that's why we're working in a partnership with all of these entities in the Nacogdoches area.
Great, thanks.
There's the experience I've had on the Chamber of Commerce Education Committee. They actually, Mario Torres from our district has been doing Blue Zone classes at the public library, and I went to one. It is a lifestyle change of trying to attract people to a better, healthier lifestyle, and not just about your weight, but about the whole being. It's a shame we don't have someone that's more expert on this than I am, but it's the general concept of holistic, whole body, everything.
Thank you. Any other questions? On behalf of the board, I want to extend our thanks to Mary. She's part of the Environmental Services here at at this building for the gifts that she donated us. And I'll let Ms. App extend our thanks to Professor Cooper from SFA for the book.
Dana Cooper for the book.
For the book.
Yes, very, very happy to see that. And may I add something else?
Yes.
The title of the book is so timely. I really encourage all of you in your, all that free time you have to read it. We have the senior English teacher at the high school assigned a similar book, one about trauma for the youth for her summer school. And I'm anxious to get with her and find out how that discussion went. But she said there is such a need with our youth today. They're being bombarded by things we never had to deal with. Yeah. So I look forward to reading that book. Yeah, thank you, Ms. Cooper.
Thank you so much. The board will now conduct an executive closed session to discuss items posted on our agenda pursuant to the following provisions of the Texas Open Meeting Act as allowed by the Texas Government Code sections 551.071, 551.072, 551.074, and 551.129. No voting will take place in the closed meeting. Any action the board wishes to take as a result of discussion in closed session will take place after the board reconvenes in open session. It is now 12:39. We will not reconvene into open session before 1 p.m. Thank you. J. Okay. The board is now reconvening in the open session, and it is 1:29. Ms. Barbaric has found the J part of budget amendments, and at this time, we'll hear from Ms. Barbaric to give us the budget amendment.
The final item that was missing is J, and we are budgeting funds received from donations for convocation from Cadence Bank, WRL, PBK, ServPro, CB Texas, Spirit Outfitters, Purdue, Brandon, Fielder, Collins, and Mott, and they all total to $8,000.
Other questions? Thank you, Ms. Barbaric. Ms. App had a request, Dr. Trujillo?
Yes.
At this time.
I don't know that this necessarily has to be, for future agenda or anything, but it would be very helpful if, for me, if we had a year calendar of these always rotating reports. I've noticed that, for instance, the same month of every year, we have budget review, and same month of every year, we have the report from TEA and that sort of thing. And it would be helpful if we had that and we had it available to access.
Sure. Irvin, I'm going to probably meet with Ms. App to give me a little more clear understanding, because I can get
Yeah,
that set up.
I'm sure I'm not making it.
Yeah, and I can see what that comes up and see what we can arrive with.
Okay.
Sounds
So have it-
Okay, great.
Did that answer the question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? Okay. At this time, we entertain a motion to adjourn.
I like to stay here.
I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn.
I can second that.
Thank you, Ms. App, and second by Coach Fashid. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So be ordered. Thank you.